Hi everybody and welcome to a new episode of Ask Tatyana. It's a very dark and cold and very rainy day in north of Germany, but I hope very much that you sit as cozy as I do here and we will enjoy this time together. Many of you have asked me about strings, how to choose and why, which strings do you use and why, and. It's really, I think, one of the most difficult topics, and it's even more difficult as the part with guitar support, because actually the market of strings is so huge, and the amount of different brands and their different kinds of strings is really overwhelming, and it's really complicated to find the right brand or to find the right kind of strings, and it's really difficult. I must think of a really good, enjoyable times in Soviet Union when you wanted to eat cheese and you went to the shop and you see one cheese, you take this cheese, you go with it at home and then you can eat it. You don't need to spend time to choose, do you like this or that or maybe in the next part of the shop, and then decide with which kind of cheese you would like to start first, and then to decide if you like the first or third one better than the other. Difficult. So unfortunately we don't have this time anymore, and we need to make our choice in everything in this life. But let's stay positive and let's see it like a great possibility to find unique strings that suits only to you and to your guitar. So, how to choose strings? First, when we would like to change strings on the guitar, we are motivated by a thought, I would like to get better sound. But I think at this point it's really very important to understand what makes a good sound. And the mistake that many of us do is to think and to believe that when I will change strings, it will sound better. Or when I will change guitar, it will sound better. It's not really like that. It's not so easy, as I said, and first important thing. The good sound, or the nice sound, consists of many different parts that should come together, and then you will have this good, wonderful sound. Let's see what kind of parts or themes should be okay. The first one that has really a big influence on sound, of course, instrument, the guitar. Second one, strings, and then comes many positions. The tension of the strings, the material that they are made of, the brand of the strings, and then of course shape of your fingernails, how smooth they are, if they are good polished, because if you have a great shape of the fingernails but they are very rough, it will not sound good. Of course, very important, your stroke, or how you produce sound, how you play, what makes your right hand at this point. Then comes our physical and psychological being at the moment. It could also have a big influence on the sound. Then comes humidity and temperature in the room where you play, and probably many different others parts. So it's really quite a big variety of things that have big influence on the good sound. but only if all of them and each single and all together come in one, then you will have a good sound. So let's stay today by the topic of strings and take a closer look inside. You can classify all strings in several ways. Let's start with the first classification, material. There are in general 3 different kinds of materials that you can find. The first one, carbon strings. The second one, nylon strings. And third one, titanium strings. But also for the very old guitars and instruments, you can find some kind of natural gut strings. But we will stay first by these 3 kind of strings. Carbon strings. When we take the same instrument and put one after each other on the same instrument, different strings, carbon, nylon and titanium, they will have different sound. How? The first carbon strings, they are more thin when you play them, and the sound generally is more bright, more straight probably, sometimes more thin, and for me it sounds often more artificial, not so natural, not so warm. Nylon strings are as an opposite of the carbon strings. They are more thick and usually they sound more warm, but could be also more close, not so open, not so bright, more warm, close and soft also. If we talk about titanium strings, it's some kind of a mode that came in the last years, and it gets more popular. As I heard, there are many different experiences with titanium strings, and actually they are even more thick than nylon strings, and they have very massive, big, loud sound. Sometimes it could be also too hard, but also in my experience it was too dull. These strings didn't have on my guitar any kind of brightness or light, but they were like plop, and they stayed the whole time in the instrument and they didn't come out. I had this experience. These 3 kinds of strings, when you know which sound you would like to have, if you, for example, prefer more warm and soft sound, that it could be probably better for you to try nylon strings. If you would like to have more bright, more clear sound, maybe also more thin, then you can try carbon strings. Sometimes it's also important to know which characteristics has your own guitar, your instrument, where you would like to change the strings. Because my experience, my both brute guitars are from nature very strong, but also very soft. And when I put their titanium strings, then I had an impression that the sound stays in the instrument, and they are just too thick, too massive, too difficult for the instrument. There is also another point of difference between carbon and nylon strings is the sustain. It means how long the sound sounds, how long it stays. And I mean, carbon strings have in generally longer sustain than nylon strings. But in the same time, at this point, you need to know that if you would like in general to have a long sustain, you cannot do it only with the right strings. I mean, maybe good 90% of sustain makes your instrument, not the strings, but other 10% belongs to strings. So you can make a special influence on it a little bit. So if you know the characteristics of your own guitar, then you can manipulate and you can choose the right kind of strings to keep your instrument in balance, or maybe to make any characteristic of your guitar stronger or less strong. For example, when you have the guitar that sounds, the most of the time it's really brilliant, it's very clear and maybe more thin sound, you can keep it in balance when you put nylon strings. Then your guitar will get from this brightness, will give a little bit up, and you will get more warmness in the sound. If you put on this bright, clear, clean, very thin guitar carbon strings, then this characteristic will be even more big. It will sound even brighter, even clearer, but also extremely thin. So be careful and take a look what you really would like to achieve. In the same time, if you have, for example, cedar guitar, that probably double top even, and they have in general very big, massive, usually warm sound. Sometimes they could stay too close in their sound. It could be probably good to try any kind of carbon strings to get the instrument more open, to make the sound more open, more bright. But of course, it's always the question of taste, what you would like to hear, what kind of sound you prefer, and also the question of experiment. You need to try different kinds of strings on your guitar and just try to understand what you like, what you don't like. That was the first classification of material. Another kind of classification of the strings could be tension. There are actually generally 3 directions of tension. Usually you have high tension, normal or medium tension, and low tension. They also have different characteristics, as you can imagine. And low tension strings, have really low tension, and they can feel for somebody a little bit sloppy, and they will not sound so loud, so direct as, for example, high tension strings. But at the same time, they could be really good solution and good choice for old instruments, for example, for romantic guitars or historical instruments. They suit much better than high tension strings or even normal tension. When we talk about high tension strings, they have higher tension, and it feels also much more harder in your right hand when you play, and the sound is more powerful, more straight, more direct. Could be also more loud. Normal strings are somewhere in between of high tension and low tension strings. It's a normal kind of string. They feel quite well, quite comfortable for the right hand, not too much tension but also not too sloppy, and they suit actually for the most of instruments. But for example, if you play flamenco guitar, it would be better if you would choose high tension strings than normal tension. It's also very depending on instrument and on what kind of music you would like to play. So don't try to play Bach on hard tension strings in general. We were talking about different classifications of strings and how different strings could suit to different instruments. Another important point, I think, strings should suit also to the player. Hey, come in, don't be shy. I greet you here, and today we're making a recording of some new pieces for my next CD, and I just wanted to give you some special insight views in our working process, and in the future I would like to make more such kind of videos where you can see how we record and what are the settings for our recordings, and how I work on a piece, how it gets better, and some other stuff. And these videos, these special secret videos, will be available actually only on Patreon. So you see now our small studio where we make our sound recordings, and you see it's look like